Picture this. You're sitting around a campfire with your best friends. The flames are dancing. The stars are out. Everything feels perfect, safe, normal. But somewhere in the darkness beyond that firelight, something is watching you. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from a park ranger in Montana. His voice was shaking. He'd been working these mountains for 22 years, seen bear attacks, found lost hikers, dealt with all kinds of wilderness emergencies. But this was different. You need to hear this story, he told me, because people need to know what's really out there. What I'm about to tell you happened to real people. Regular folks just like you and me. People who thought they knew how to camp safely. People who followed all the rules. They were wrong. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 stories. 3 camping trips that started normal and ended in ways that will make you question everything you think you know about the wilderness. The first story takes place in the remote backcountry of Pine Creek, Montana. A place so isolated that if something happens to you, no one will hear you scream. Jake, Sarah, and Mike have been friends since college. They'd done this trip before. Same campsite, same routine. They thought they knew what to expect. But the woods had changed, and something in those woods was waiting for them. It was supposed to be a simple 3-day camping trip. Jake Morrison, 22 years old, had planned everything down to the last detail. He'd reserved the same campsite they'd used the year before. Site number 12 at Pine Creek. Remote, quiet, perfect. Sarah Chin pack light, just the basics. She'd been camping with these guys since sophomore year. She trusted Jake's planning. Mike Rodriguez brought his guitar. He always brought his guitar. Said the mountains made him feel like playing. None of them had any idea what was waiting for them in those woods. The drive up took 4 hours. Winding mountain roads. Cell service cutting in and out until it disappeared completely around mile marker 15. That should have been their first warning. But they were laughing, telling stories, playing music, young and stupid and feeling invincible. The campsite looked exactly the same as last year. Fire ring, picnic table, trees all around forming a natural wall. Jake pulled out his phone. Take a picture. No signal, not even one bar. We're officially off the grid, he said. Sarah smiled. Good. I need a break from the world. Mike was already tuning his guitar. Just us in the wilderness. This is going to be perfect. They set up camp fast. They'd done this routine so many times they could do it in their sleep. Tents in a triangle around the fire pit. Food hung properly in the bear box. Everything by the book. The first day was normal. Hiking. Swimming in the creek. Making jokes around the fire. Sarah took pictures of everything. Mike played songs until the stars came out. That's when they heard it. A whistle, clear as day, coming from somewhere in the trees. Did you guys hear that? Sarah asked. They all stopped talking. Listen, there was again. A tune. Simple melody. Like someone was walking through the woods, whistling to themselves. Probably another camper, Jake said. Sound travels weird up here. But Mike was frowning. That tune, it sounded familiar. The whistling continued for maybe 10 minutes, then stopped. They went to bed thinking nothing of it. Day 2 started normal. Coffee, breakfast, plans to hike to the waterfall they'd found last year. But as they walked through the woods, Jake noticed something. Scratches on the trees, deep gouges in the bark, fresh ones, bears. Sarah asked. Jake shook his head. Wrong pattern. Too high up. They found the waterfall. Took pictures. Had lunch. But the whole time, Jake kept looking over his shoulder. Something felt off. The woods were too quiet. No birds. No squirrels. Nothing. They got back to camp around 4. Started dinner early. As the sun began to set, Mike pulled out his guitar again. "Play that song from last night," Sarah said. "The one you were humming." Mike looked confused. "I wasn't humming anything last night." "Yes, you were. Right before we heard the whistling. That same tune." Mike's face went pale. "Sarah, I never learned that song. I've never heard it before in my life." The whistling started again just after dark. This time it was closer, much closer, moving in a slow circle around their campsite. Always the same tune, always the same pace, like someone taking a casual stroll through the forest. But the thing is, there are no trails that circle that campsite. Just thick woods, fallen logs, rocky ground that would be impossible to walk on quietly. Yet the whistling never stopped, never stumbled, never missed a note. "We should check it out," Mike said, standing up. "No." Jake's voice was sharp. "We should not check it out. Rule number 1 of horror movies, man. Don't investigate the weird noise." But Mike was already grabbing his flashlight. "It's probably just some guy camping nearby. Maybe he's lost or something." Sarah grabbed his arm. "Mike, please. Something about this feels wrong." Mike pulled away. "I'll be right back." 5 minutes. He walked toward the tree line, his flashlight beam dancing across the trunks. The whistling stopped the moment he left the fire's light. Complete silence. Jake and Sarah waited. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15. "Mike!" Sarah called out. "Mike, come back." Nothing. Then they heard his voice, faint, coming from deep in the woods. "Guys, you need to see this." His voice sounded strange, flat, like he was reading from a script. Jake grabbed his flashlight. "We're coming, Mike. Keep talking so we can find you." But Mike didn't answer. They found him 20 minutes later, standing perfectly still between 2 large pine trees, his back to them, whistling that same tune. "Mike!" Sarah whispered. He turned around slowly. His eyes were wide, staring, but he was looking right through them, like they weren't there. "I found him," Mike said in that same flat voice. "He was waiting for me." "Found who?" Jake asked. "Mike, what are you talking about?" Mike pointed deeper into the woods. "He's been waiting for someone to learn his song." That's when they saw it, about 30 feet behind Mike, a figure standing in the shadows. Tall, too tall, not moving, just watching. Jake grabbed Mike's arm. "We're leaving, right now." They dragged Mike back to camp, threw everything into their packs as fast as they could. Mike didn't resist, but he kept whistling that same tune over and over. The figure followed them, staying just at the edge of their flashlight beams. Always there, never getting closer, never falling behind. They hiked 4 miles in the dark back to their car. Mike whistled the entire time. When they reached the parking area, Mike suddenly stopped, blinked, looked around confused. "How did we get here?" he asked. "I thought we were going to bed." He had no memory of the past 3 hours. They drove straight home, didn't stop, didn't look back. Here's the thing that still gives him nightmares. When they got home, Sarah checked her phone. She'd been recording audio during their hike out. 23 minutes of them walking through the woods. On the recording, you can hear their footsteps, their heavy breathing, their whispered conversations, and you can hear Mike whistling. But there's something else. Something they didn't notice that night. A second whistler, following the same tune, coming from somewhere behind them in the darkness. Mike never learned that song, and he wasn't the only one whistling it. Emma Patterson was not a beginner. 15 years of solo backpacking. She'd hiked the Appalachian Trail twice, climbed mountains in Alaska, spent weeks alone in the wilderness. She knew the rules. Always tell someone your plans. Carry emergency gear. Trust your instincts. But sometimes the wilderness doesn't care how experienced you are. October in Yellowstone is a dangerous time to be alone. The tourists are gone. The weather is unpredictable. Most of the park is empty. Emma liked it that way. She had a permit for backcountry site number 7, 12 miles from the nearest road. No cell towers. No other campers. Just her and the mountains. The hike, it was beautiful. Fresh snow on the peaks. Golden aspen leaves. Perfect camping weather. Emma reached her site around 3 in the afternoon. Plenty of time to set up before dark. Site 7 sits in a small clearing surrounded by dense forest. There's a creek about 50 yards away. Good water source. Natural windbreak. It's why she requested this specific spot. But as she set up her tent, Emma noticed something odd. Scattered around the clearing were pieces of torn fabric, orange and blue, like pieces of a camping tent. She picked up a few scraps. The material was thick, high quality, expensive gear, but it looked like it had been shredded. Not cut, not torn by wind or weather. Shredded, like something with claws had gone to work on it. Emma's first thought was bears, but she'd seen bear damage before. This was different, more violent, more deliberate. She almost packed up right then. Her gut was telling her to leave, but she'd hiked 12 miles to get here, and she'd never let fear win before. Big mistake. Emma made dinner, filtered water from the creek, set up her food properly in the bear canister, did everything right. But as darkness fell, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Around midnight, she heard footsteps outside her tent. Not animal footsteps, human footsteps. Slow, deliberate, circling her campsite. Emma lay perfectly still, barely breathing. Her hand on the bear spray clipped to her sleeping bag. The footsteps stopped right outside her tent door. Then something started pushing against the tent wall, gently at first, like someone testing how strong the fabric was. Then harder. The whole tent started to shake. Emma's mind was racing. Could be a bear. They sometimes investigate tents, but bears don't walk in circles. And they don't test tent strength like they're planning something. The pushing stopped. Everything went quiet. Emma waited. 1 hour. 2 hours. Nothing. She must have fallen asleep eventually, because she woke up to sunlight streaming through her tent. Everything looked normal, peaceful, like nothing had happened. But when she unzipped her tent door, she saw them. Footprints in the soft dirt around her campsite. Human footprints. Bare feet, but they were wrong. Too long, toes spread too wide. And they made a complete circle around her tent. 3 times. Emma packed up fast, but she didn't leave. Not yet. She had to know what she was dealing with. She followed the footprints into the woods. They led to a small cave about a 1/4 mile from her campsite. The smell hit her before she saw what was inside. Camping gear. Lots of it. Tents, sleeping bags, backpacks. All destroyed. All shredded like the fabric she found at her campsite. And bones. Animal bones mostly, but some that looked different. Emma ran back to her campsite, grabbed her pack, started hiking out immediately. But she'd made another mistake. She'd waited too long. The sun was already setting, and whatever lived in that cave was waking up. She heard it following her before she'd hiked a mile. Footsteps behind her on the trail, always just out of sight when she turned around, but getting closer. Emma was in good shape. She could hike fast when she needed to, but this thing behind her wasn't getting tired, wasn't slowing down. If anything, it was gaining ground. 5 miles from the trailhead, Emma's headlamp started to dim, batteries dying. The one thing she hadn't checked before leaving. The footsteps behind her stopped. Everything went quiet. That's when Emma realized she'd made the worst mistake of all. She'd been so focused on what was behind her, she hadn't been paying attention to what was ahead. Standing on the trail, maybe 20 feet in front of her, was a figure. Tall, thin, not quite human. It had been waiting for her. Emma did the only thing she could do. She left the trail, crashed through the woods in the dark, branches tearing at her face, roots trying to trip her, but she kept running. She ran for 3 hours straight. No trails, no direction, just away from whatever that thing was. When the park rangers found her the next morning, Emma was hypothermic, delirious, 15 miles from where she was supposed to be. They asked her what happened. She told them about the creature, the cave full of destroyed gear, the chase through the woods. The rangers searched the area. They found her original campsite. They found the torn fabric. They even found some of the footprints. But they never found the cave. The official report lists it as a bear encounter. Experienced hiker spooked by wildlife. Happens all the time. But 3 weeks later, another solo camper went missing in the same area. They found his tent, shredded to pieces, and those same footprints, circling the campsite 3 times. They never found the camper. Emma still hikes, but never alone, and never in Yellowstone. She won't talk about what she saw on the trail that night, won't describe the figure that was waiting for her. But sometimes, when she's camping with friends, she'll stop mid-conversation, listen to the woods, and pack up camp immediately. "We need to leave," she'll say. "Right now." Her friends have learned not to ask questions. David Patterson wanted to do something special for his daughter's 16th birthday. Alex had been asking to go camping for years. She wanted to prove she could handle the outdoors, be tough like her dad. David was nervous. He'd been camping plenty of times, but always with other adults. Taking his teenage daughter into the wilderness felt different. More responsibility, more things that could go wrong. But Alex was excited. She'd been researching gear for months, reading survival blogs, watching YouTube videos. She was ready. They chose a section of the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. Popular area, well-marked trails, cell service for most of the route. Safe choice for a father-daughter trip. The first day was perfect. Beautiful weather, easy hiking. Alex was loving every minute, taking pictures, asking questions about plants and wildlife. David was proud of how well she was handling it. They made camp at a designated site about 8 miles from the parking area. Close enough to civilization, far enough to feel like real wilderness. That evening, while they were making dinner, 3 people walked into their campsite. 2 men and a woman, all in their 30s, carrying small day packs. No camping gear, no proper hiking boots, just regular clothes and sneakers. "Hey, there," the older man said. "Nice evening for camping." David nodded politely. "Beautiful night. You folks camping nearby?" Something like that, the woman said. She was staring at Alex. Too long, too intense. The second man hadn't said anything, just stood there looking at their gear, their food, their tent. "You picked a good spot," the first man continued. "Real private up here. No one around for miles." Something in his tone made David uncomfortable. "Yeah, we like the quiet. But you got some nice gear in those packs," the woman said. "Expensive stuff." David's dad instincts kicked in. This conversation was heading somewhere bad. "We should probably get going," the first man said. "Long hike back to our car." But they didn't leave. They just stood there, watching, waiting. "You folks have a good night," David said firmly. "We're going to turn in early." Finally, they walked away. But David noticed they headed deeper into the woods, not toward any trail. "Dad," Alex whispered. Those people gave me the creeps. Me too, sweetheart. But they're gone now. David was wrong. Around 11 that night, Alex woke up to voices outside their tent. Hushed conversation. Multiple people. She shook her dad awake. They listened. Definitely just the two of them. Saw some good stuff. No one knows they're here. David's blood went cold. He'd been camping long enough to know what this was. These weren't lost hikers or fellow campers. These were predators. "Alex," he whispered, "get dressed. Quietly. We're leaving." But it was too late. Footsteps were approaching their tent. "Hey in there," a voice called out. "The same man from earlier. We know you're awake." David's mind was racing. 3 against 1. His daughter to protect. Miles from help. No cell service. "We just want to talk," the woman's voice added. "Come on out." David made a decision that probably saved their lives. Instead of trying to negotiate or hide, he went on the offensive. "I'm a park ranger," he called out loudly. "I've already radioed our location to dispatch. There's a search team on the way." Silence. David wasn't a park ranger. He was an accountant. But these people didn't know that. "We don't want any trouble," he continued. "Just turn around and walk away. No harm done." More silence. Then footsteps, moving away from their tent. David and Alex waited. 1 hour, 2 hours, not talking, barely breathing. At 3 in the morning, David made the call. They were leaving, in the dark, on unfamiliar trails, with dangerous people somewhere in the woods. But staying was more dangerous. They packed their essential gear as quietly as possible, left the tent standing, made it look like they were still inside sleeping. Then they slipped out the back of their campsite and started hiking by moonlight. It was the longest 8 miles of their lives. Every shadow looked like a person. Every sound made them freeze. But they kept moving. They reached their car at sunrise, drove straight to the nearest police station. The officers took their report seriously. A search team went back to the campsite that afternoon. They found David and Alex's tent, slashed open, all their remaining gear stolen, and signs that multiple people had been searching through their belongings. But they never found the 3 people who'd visited them. 2 weeks later, another family was robbed at a campsite 15 miles away. Same pattern. 3 people, 2 men and a woman, approached at night, demanded money and gear. But that family wasn't as lucky as David and Alex. The father fought back. He's still in the hospital. The mother and daughter won't talk about what happened to them. The 3 suspects are still out there, still targeting campers, still looking for isolated victims. David and Alex still go camping, but never alone, and never without telling multiple people exactly where they'll be. People think the wilderness is dangerous because of bears and storms. David told me. But the scariest thing out there is other people. Because animals are predictable. You can prepare for weather. But you never know what someone else is capable of until it's too late. 3 stories. 3 camping trips that went wrong in ways these people never expected. Jake, Sarah, and Mike still talk about that whistling. They researched the area. Talked to locals. No one knows what it was. Or who. Emma Patterson recovered from her hypothermia, but she's never been the same. Won't camp alone. Won't even walk in the woods after dark. David and Alex Patterson are closer now than they've ever been. Shared trauma has that effect. But Alex still has nightmares about those voices outside their tent. Here's what these stories teach us. The wilderness is dangerous, but not always in the ways we expect. We prepare for bears. We plan for bad weather. We bring first aid kits and emergency beacons. But how do you prepare for something that shouldn't exist? How do you plan for people who hunt other people? The answer is simple. You trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, It probably is. If your gut tells you to leave, you leave. Don't worry about looking silly. Don't worry about wasted time or money. Your safety is worth more than your pride. And if you're planning a camping trip anytime soon, remember this. You're not alone out there. Something is always watching from the trees. The question is, what's watching you? If you've had your own camping experience that you can't explain, leave a comment below. Share your story, because the more we talk about these things, the better we can prepare for them. And if you want to hear more true wilderness encounters, hit that subscribe button, because the woods are full of stories, and not all of them have happy endings. Sleep tight, and next time you're around a campfire, listen carefully to the sounds coming from the darkness. You might hear something whistling back.